Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17, U.S.C., Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, it's called, it's published in Make It Personal, dated August 1st, 2020, from Cameron C. Why is Hollywood still turning a blind eye to Scientology? The church's abuse has been known for decades. It's time to speak out. There's Elizabeth Moss in AMC's Madman. I do love the dress. Peggy Olson is one of my favorite characters in television history. Elizabeth Moss's performance masterfully captures the arc of a young woman coming out of her shell and taking control over her own life. That's interesting. I found myself connecting to Peggy Olson just as much as to Don Draper, and she was one of the many reasons I fell in love with the show. I was obsessed with Mad Men. I read every script I could get my hands on to improve my own writing, to learn from the show's grandiose competence, both behind and in front of the camera. That left me awestruck after every episode. But after a discovery I made, this appreciation and inspiration deflated and drifted away. Yeah, these Scientology celebrities better recognize. The discovery was that Elizabeth Moss is a Scientologist. Well-documented craziness. The past decade has been pivotal in the efforts to speak out against social, racial, and economic injustice. Hollywood has had its fair share of blame, whether for giving child rapist Roman Polanski a standing ovation, booing Michael Moore for speaking out against the Iraq War, or the continued support of Woody Allen after he was accused of molesting his 7-year-old adopted daughter. Didn't he later marry her or something? Since then, many in the Hollywood have apologized for turning a blind eye to these injustices, and some have expressed regret for working with Allen. I'm starting to think there's like this wall of silence in Hollywood because of all the blacklisting. So a lot of the people that are in charge, more narcissistic and nasty in nature, are the ones doing all these abuses. And if someone speaks out, then they blacklist them. Which it should be the opposite. When somebody harms a child, they should be blacklisted. But it's inverted. You've probably seen the wild interview with Tom Cruise, where he rants about the benefits of Scientology. He claims only Scientologists can help victims of car accidents, that only Scientologists can rehabilitate criminals, unite cultures, and bring world peace. World peace is a New World Order thing, just so you guys know. Laura Prepon and Danny Masterson, both Scientologists. I think Laura Prepon is no longer a Scientologist. I do wonder how much she knows. Just recently, that 70s show actor Danny Masterson has been charged with 3 counts of rape, going back to 2001. The Church of Scientology attempted to help Masterson cover up his crimes by harassing the victims, even going as far as to allegedly kill one of their dogs in an attempt to silence her. I wouldn't put that directly on Masterson. That was probably some of the Scientologist fair gamers. Probably got paid well for it. The Church of Scientology labels all of its enemies SPs, or suppressive persons, including children. The Church's official glossary defines an SP as a person who possesses a distinct set of characteristics and mental attitudes that cause him to suppress other people in his vicinity. This is the person whose behavior is calculated to be disastrous. The ambiguity of this definition is intentional. It helps them justify their the attacker policy, going after anyone who publicly criticizes the church. When Mike Rinder left Scientology after 25 years of membership, he was labeled an SP. The same goes for many people who leave the church. Members within the church are not allowed to have any contact with SPs, which means that Mike Rinder's escape from the iron grasp of Scientology has made him unable to have contact with his 2 adult children. You guys, Rinder co-hosts the A&E show Leah Remini, Scientology in the Aftermath, in which he recounts instances of the church stalking him. They had cameras installed inside his bird feeder, paid sanitation workers for his garbage. Imagine going through someone's garbage, that's wrong. Made fictitious claims about him beating his wife, started wide-scale smear campaigns about his mental health, and hired a private investigator to hack into his emails. Did anybody ever see his emails? Rinder was at a doctor's appointment when he was ambushed by a group of Scientology operatives, one of which was his ex-wife. These types of bizarre behaviors are happening all over the country, and it's painful to see actors we hold in high regard choosing to actively or passively support the church. It's equally maddening to witness the silence of others in the industry who are not speaking out against this. When I rewatch episodes of Mad Men, it's hard for me to not think about how everyone on set is willfully turning a blind eye to what Elizabeth Moss is a part of. Yep. Photo by Amit Yalkakea on Unsplash. Hollywood's history of complicity. One of the first big stories about injustice in the 2010s was about the decades of allegations of sexual harassment from film producer Harvey Weinstein. These allegations were an open secret. Courtney Love warned young actors about Harvey Weinstein back in 2005 and even stated she was banned by the Creative Arts Agency for doing so. Just what I said. It's a blacklisting. So basically, you need to shut up, sit down, and allow your friends and co-worker actors and actresses to get drugged and AR'd, or just AR'd, depending on what day it is. Seth MacFarlane made a joke about women having to pretend to be attracted to Weinstein. Yep, I believe that. During the 2013 Oscars. Everyone knew what he was talking about, but they wouldn't do anything about it for another 4 years. I believe men like that put themselves in those kinds of positions intentionally as well. A recent movement about assistant pay spawned in the wake of Me Too. Hollywood assistant pay was averaging $12 to $15 per hour. Unreal. Unreal. I mean, what would we do with all this, indentured servitude and slavery or debt slavery? With work weeks up to 60 hours long. Wonder if they got time and a half. Many assistants took second jobs to afford rent. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Many were forced to do things outside of their contracts or face being fired. See what they do? Narcissist wet dream. Collaborative movements have spread throughout the industry to stop inequality and harassment. I want to see change. But there's a fundamental and structural issue still rearing its ugly head. You see, that's always how they get people in these systems. Fundamental and structural issue. Like the pyramid crap. Scientology's abuse is still an open secret. What does that mean, an open secret? Oh, one that Hollywood doesn't want to talk about yet. Okay. Why not? Because it endangers capital. Yep. There's an abuse of power between those who have it, abusing it against those who don't. In the face of these injustices, and they all feed like this, people still remain quiet in favor of their careers and money and are only speaking out when public pressure becomes too loud to ignore. Or maybe they are afraid. This happens in the normal work world as well. Much like what we're seeing with the NFL's pivoting on protesting in the wake of the recent Black Lives Matter. Anybody in the know knows. I can't talk about it here. You guys know. Why are we always focusing on what our color of our skin looks like? These corporations only supported BLM once it became the popular position to take. Oh, now that's interesting. George W. Bush with Ellen DeGeneres? From Variety. You guys know. You guys know. Ellen DeGeneres was recently criticized for hanging out. If you guys don't have eyes to see, I really don't know what to tell you there. Like, really, I really don't. With former President George W. Bush at a Dallas Cowboys game. I've heard rumors, and this is just what I've heard. It's not my opinion. It's just things that I've heard around the water cooler. Was that Ellen DeGeneres was a Rothschild, or what, Rothschild? I have nothing to validate or confirm that. DeGeneres responded to the backlash, claiming, "I'm friends with George Bush." Can you guys imagine this, you guys? You guys know what's up. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't share the same beliefs that I have. Oh, Ellen, you're so abused. We're all different, and I think we've forgotten that that's okay, that we're all different. There's that inclusion shit again. She claimed that it's because she is oh, God. Can I just, where's the barf bag? She claimed that it's because she is You guys know what's come out about this chick. That's because she is kind. That she was able to look past her differences with Bush. Now we know what her little game is. Telling everyone how kind she is. Now anyone telling me they're kind, I might look at them side-eyed. But looking past minor differences isn't what allows DeGeneres to cozy up with people who spent their 2 presidential terms trying to reduce LGBTQ. Do we have an RQRS? Do we need an R and S UV? QRS, TUV, WX, Y, and Z. Do we need more letters? Anybody in the know should know what love is love means. I would love to do a video on that. But that would make them so angry. Just go look at the Twitter post, "Love is Love," with the man with the umbrella. Just go look it up. You guys know I'm not against gay people in any shape or form. You should know what I'm referring to, of which DeGeneres has been a loud advocate for. The reason they can be friends is class. You see when these ultra rich people try to pretend like they're like us. It sounds so stupid. They can be friends is class solidarity. Can you imagine how ignorant that is? Oh, God. It's a big club and you ain't in it. George Carlin. I love George Carlin. Now, there's a few things to tackle about the Church of Scientology, legally speaking. Scientology is recognized as a religion and a church. People in America have the freedom of religion, so holding someone's religion against them raises plenty of ethical questions and implications. A government intervening into an officially recognized religion while all the babies and the children are being abused. Into an officially recognized religion and church can be unconstitutional. After the last 4 years of bullshit that we all went through, they have the audacity to talk about unconstitutional. If you're in the know, you are. If you're not, you're not. I can't go there. However, being a religion does not permit organizations to operate outside the law. Well, apparently Church of Scientology can, though. They're good. Which the Church of Scientology has done, yeah. In the 70s, the church was responsible for the criminal conspiracy, Snow White, where they attempted, this goes so deep, you guys, you don't even know, attempted to expunge all the unfavorable records of the church's founder, L. Ron Hubbard, the auditing files. The auditing files that Scientologists use to blackmail other Scientologists. But everybody's great friends. The conspiracy included breaking into and stealing from 136 government agencies. Not 135 or 132. Foreign embassies and consulates. You guys must ask yourself, and why were they allowed to continue? Wakey, wakey. 11 highly placed church executives, including founder L. Ron Hubbard's wife, Sue Hubbard, pled guilty and were convicted in federal court of burglary, obstruction of justice, LAPD, check it out, and theft of government documents. Well, I guess that's a crime, isn't it? In the case of United States versus Sue Hubbard et al. Wouldn't you guys wonder why it wasn't versus L. Ron Hubbard? Why'd he get away? Being a church or a cult doesn't exempt you from government intervention. If you are holding people against their will, like children, and breaking laws, the Church of Scientology conducts routine beatings of its members. Oh, you know what else? They conduct regular beatings of children. Isn't that wild? And some of it is videoed and some of it is on audio recording. Isn't that crazy? Has billion-year contracts and runs re-education camps. That's the RPF and the child RPF, involving slave labor, to include child slave labor, because we would never want to forget the children that are utilized for slave labor. They've also forced separation of communication between family members under a process called disconnection, and have kidnapped members who attempted to escape. Yeah, the children just get brought back. I've heard a few child Scientologists talk about how they tried to run away in Clearwater, Florida, and the Clearwater police were happy to bring the children back to the compound. Remini even alleges renowned Scientologist Tom Cruise participates in these beatings. I wouldn't be surprised, you guys. I get really bad vibes from Tom Cruise. And I used to love him back in the day. And that the LAPD is heavily tied, with the Church of Scientology, preventing adequate investigations into the church's actions. Remini filed a missing persons report with the LAPD for Shelley Miscavige, leader David Miscavige's wife, who has not been seen publicly since August of 2007. Some people speculate or allege that she's living in this like little villa somewhere in the Hollywood area, and it's all completely guarded and like a kind of like a compound, and that her job is to maintain like the Hubbard estate where he's coming back to. Something like that. Detective Gus Villanueva of the LAPD responded with, "That name sounds familiar. Is that the one that ignored Pinche Becky? The name just sounds familiar." Of the LAPD responded with, "The LAPD has classified the report as unfounded." Just exactly like how those all the abuse files in Clearwater, Florida of the children, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and neglect were closed. Villanueva. I think that Villanueva was the guy that was really rude to Pinche Becky, indicating that Shelley is not missing. A close personal aide to Shelley Miscavige filed a lawsuit against the church, citing false imprisonment. Mind you guys, this is happening to children right now. That's like that old song, things that make you go, Slander, libel, human trafficking, and negligence. And again, there's no mention of child. You guys know what's up. The aide also claimed to have witnessed a dark-colored tinted vehicle pull up to the main building at Scientology's Gold Base. That's in Hemet, I believe. At which point, unidentified men dragged Shelley, who was crying and visibly distraught, out of the building and put her in the car. Now, LAPD, listen up. Silence is compliance. Why do we still ignore this? Why are we still excited to see the next Tom Cruise movie? Why do we praise Elizabeth Moss' performance in The Invincible Man, even though she belongs to a cult that has re-education camps? And I want to bring this up. I know a lot of these folks are complicit in this, but I also don't feel it's fair to pin all of the abuse and all of everything on one person. Because this does not continue. It's a machine. And the machine can only continue when there are numerous parts working together to keep it going, to keep Scientology going. That's the mind control. Why do the producers in Hollywood ignore this? Is class solidarity and the power of money too strong to overcome until public outcry becomes too loud to ignore? Are they scared to be labeled SPs? Yes, they are. That's how they keep people in. Little do they know how easy it would be to just leave and have a good life. If we extend the logic used to criticize the police on a systemic level by the Black Lives Matter, why is Black Lives Matter even brought up with this? The Church of Scientology is no different. Tom Cruise and Elizabeth Moss are culpable for not speaking out against the injustices of their own church. It's true, I agree with this, but they're also being abused. I'm not sticking up for them, but they're also being abused in their own way. Just as the police are culpable for not speaking out against their fellow officers abusing power. Yeah, Rest in peace, Officer Tipping. Silence is compliance. That silence and that compliance transcends, boy, this is long, through the television screen. I cannot, in good faith, look at Mad Men the same way anymore. Watching Minority Report. Or how about Handmaid's Tale? I watched some of that, and then there was this one particular scene that was so awful involving the Elizabeth Moss character, the wife and the husband, while she was pregnant. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. That disturbed me on like a cellular level, and I could not watch it anymore. Watching Minority Report and the Mission Impossible franchise makes me feel sick, knowing what's ignored in the name of money, career advancement, and class solidarity. The tone-deaf videos of celebrities singing John Lennon's Imagine and a PSA of them taking responsibility for systemic racism feel extra hollow when you remember how silent they are on Scientology's influence over their industry. Making these changes does not take time. It takes the actions of many brave people, much like what opened the floodgates to the Me Too movement. It's a good sign that we as a society are taking measures to minimize these injustices, but the frustration comes when there's still lots of work to be done and Hollywood is dragging its feet. And the Me Too movement was allowed to go through, and probably very orchestrated, because no movements go through unless the controllers allow that to go through. As a lover of film and television, it's painful to find out that so many directors and actors I've held in high regard are members of a cult. Celebrities like Elizabeth Moss, you guys know it's all by design, right? John Travolta, Michael Pena, Tom Cruise, Nancy Cartwright, Laura Prepon, I think she's out now, Danny Masterson, Jenna Elfman, Juliette Lewis, Giovanni Ribisi, Ann Archer, Ethan Suplee, and more. You know what I wonder? I wonder how many of those celebrities are getting waited on hand and foot by the Child Sea Org members right now. It's deflating as someone who engages in filmmaking and screenwriting to know the magical place I looked up to as a child is riddled with corruption and hypocrisy. What makes it even worse is knowing it doesn't have to be this way. So that's it, you guys. I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.